if you're multidisciplinary, just say you're multidisciplinary. Just say you do a lot of things. I think grouping yourself under creative really water down what you do as well, or your impact, or your journey.
Salam, hello, and welcome back to Sòrò Sókè. This is a podcast created to learn, understand, and demystify life in Africa and African lives. Today, I have a very, very special guest. I low key, I don't know, can you say I've been stalking you? I don't know. I think it's a bit too much. Maybe like I attended one event, online event, and I was like, oh, I love this. She was the spotlight for newcomer. And then I think literally the next day, I attended another event of hers, a flower gathering. It was such a lovely, wholesome event. And then since then, I was like, yeah, I need to like get her on my podcast because I love everything like the society that she's building, the community. We will dive into that in the podcast. But yes, I'll allow you to introduce yourself.
Okay, thank you. I mean, I think it's so funny how we run into each other on the online spotlight thing. But yeah, my name is Wura. I am. Where do I ever start? Basically, I am the founder of the Afroniche Society, founder and director of the Afroniche Society (CIC). I'm a visual artist, creative director, and I also work 9 to 5 in the EDI space at a university.
Yes, I love that. I love that. I think we'll go into like your whole background, like how you got into creating.
Yeah.
So first of all, I would say to anyone listening, go follow them on Instagram and any other socials that they have. They'll also list them in the description below. But that's like a thing to do. But yeah, let's get into what was kind of like what is the aim and goals of the society that you're building.
Well, this is a big one because I feel like when you're building something, it's hard for you to figure out, like, you're building something out of nothing. So it's kind of crazy to try and put down those end goals or long term or short term. You really just need to, look inward. But when I started the Afroniche Society, it was very much a silo for me. It was I studied illustration as an undergrad, and in my third year, I went through like a lot of turmoil, mentally, physically, and I was also an international student. So like I was a creative, but I didn't feel like I was seeing my people in the creative scene. I didn't feel like I was connecting or being connected to people that look like me and stuff. So, um, you know, the way it came to me was sort of like a vision spiritually. Like I feel like it was spiritual as well, but I just had a vision of what community, and started learning about what community is. Like, do people feel like they're in a community? Are they being inspired? Is there enough motivation in schools back at home? At a younger age, how are people finding their people? Because from where I'm from, I'm Nigerian, and what I picked up was collaboration is so far ahead in the creative industry in Nigeria. Everybody is working together. Everybody is finding ways for to finding ways for their creative practice to blossom, if that makes sense, in an economy that doesn't really work for them, or a government that doesn't really prioritize their steady income with avenues and things like that. So short-term goals was to just be behind the scenes, be the pillar, but also the catalyst of bringing people together. The platform to spotlight people, give them room to express themselves. So those goals were basically to make sure that the short term goal was just to make sure that we're providing a platform to spotlight people, and especially like not young, but like the African diaspora, because I'm not in Nigeria, I'm in the UK. So going to African art exhibitions, spotlighting them, making people aware of their journeys and their exhibitions and their shows, trying to bring people to see how they got there, what they've been working on, and things like that. So yeah, those are the short-term goals. Just trying to make a safe space for creatives in diaspora and also in the African continent. I think I would the long-term goals are more very extensive because the creative industry is really tough to crack, especially in African communities. And it's gonna, I would lie, it will take a really long time to not even perfect, but even implement steady income, steady processes for our creatives to evolve beyond referrals or commission work. Like the way creatives are here are working in, big creative corporations, like, maybe where do I even start? Like advertising companies and things like that. So I think the long term goals that was that was on my mind was to build some sort of publication, physical and digital. So we're getting stories and insights of different African communities, not just the West, giving them the platform and the chance to come out, because I feel like we don't see enough of the East or the North or the South. There's a lot of emphasis on the West, and we just want to see like the different niche processes, the different niche medias, and the art industry that people are focusing on. Like, and yeah, I think that long term goal is just making sure that we're um, creating a database and a publication that exposes all these different African niche creative communities. Because when people think of art, it's not just pen and paper, it's not just digital painting. It's down to the architecture of things, the furniture making, the weavers, the all these kind of things. So the long term goal is just to have that publication, a lasting publication that exposes all these niche things. I've said niche a lot. And then, um, yeah, and also one thing that was one of our missions is also for the future generation. We're always focusing on building what we have now, protecting the archives now, so it's there for the future generation, and improving the pathways for younger people back in, the continent, because I feel like it should be effortless to um, display the different things that you can do in the creative industry to young people, and it's down to the resources. So one of our missions is to provide these resources to young generations in schools, in the rural areas, in the education system, making sure that they have the right tools, they have the right um text and books that are displaying these things. And that's where I kind of saw the Afroniche Society getting involved with having a physical copy of all these people's journeys that we've come across, like you're doing, Zainab, meeting all these founders and speaking to them, but actually putting it in, physical book. And so that's the long-term goal, to have a physical copy of all of these things. Yeah,
Yeah, that sounds
I really
amazing.
hope
Okay.
that wasn't too
That was a lot. It was really good. Like, there's so much like to unpack from what you're saying, and you can tell there's like a lot of passion and like a real interest
long.
into this. And you've mentioned that it started from your own personal experience and your own personal journey, and you wanted to create a community that kind of you see other people that resonate and go through a lot of the things that you're going through as well, which is really nice. But first of all, I just
Mm.
wanted to get a clear like understanding. What do we mean by creative? Because I feel like that word is being used so much, and I think especially nowadays, it's always like, "Oh, you're creative." It's very like broad, but also I feel like when people say that, I'm like, what's included, what's excluded in this creative term that we use?
That's such a good, like, it's such a, I don't even, I feel like now it's controversial. I feel like back then it would have been easy uh,
Mm,
um to pinpoint. And I was talking to my friends about this. It's so overused now,
yeah.
across all all industries, even, because now musicians are creatives. And I feel like people will come at me for this, but you're a musician. You're an artist, but you're a musician. Just like the word artist was, I feel like it's just a resurgence of things as well, because artist then was also, it's been overused, and now the new word for artist is creative. So now, like, artist back then, you're an artist, you're an artist, that's a visual artist. But now people have labeled that to musicians, right? Or yeah, I think musicians. So yeah, it's also, I also think it's lazy. Just say what you do. Just say you're an illustrator. Just say you're a film editor.
Mm.
Just say you're a content creator. If you're multidisciplinary, just say you're multidisciplinary. Just say you do a lot of things. I think grouping yourself under creative really water down what you do as well,
Mm.
or your impact, or your journey.
Yeah, it is very overused, like especially on social media. And I think a lot of like the content creator influencers, there's this tag of I'm a creative, and I'm just like, what does that mean? Like, what are you actually describing yourself as?
Yeah,
Um, so then that question, I guess, goes into with your society, do you have a specific of like people should have this job roles or this interest?
that's a very good topic, because maybe not a lot of people do know this, but it's essentially for everyone. The way I thought about the Afroniche Society is not, it's not a privated or a membership, or if you're a creative person, or if you're in the creative, if you're industry, or an artist, like, you're only welcome. No, the way I thought of it is that it's showing people the talent, the amazingness of the African art world. And you don't have to have those skills. You don't have to work, or you don't have to know. The idea is that you're coming in with what you thought you knew, but actually this is what it is. And it's through all the people that we spotlight, it's through all the people that we find, it's through all the events that we do and the topics that we discuss that you find out these things. So essentially it's for everyone who is curious, who has a creative practice but doesn't know where to go, or doesn't know where to start, or doesn't feel like they know enough, or it's for people who are in their journeys and looking to work, collaborate, find people that they can work with, find motivation and inspiration. I feel like the key overarching words are inspiration and motivation and collaboration. That's what we stem off of. So pretty much everyone is welcome. And I know a lot of people, even for, I think, the flower event that you came for, we had people asking, "Oh, I'm not a black or an African person, but can I still attend?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it's Women's History Month. You're an ally. You're very much here to come and, learn about our culture, what, the the perspectives and lived experiences, and you're coming as an ally. That's all we ask of you. Just be an ally, because you're supporting the movement of spreading African arts by being an ally, not by trying to take over the work and disvalue or invalidate the talent and work these young and old people have put into their creative practice." And my emphasis on creative practice, when I say, like, you can come here and find out more about yourself, which I think people have actually taken from our events, is they always leave knowing that, oh, they want to work on this part of themselves, or they figured they could actually find friends this way, or open up and be vulnerable about what they're going through with their creative practice. That sentiment is because I myself, studying a creative degree, so many of these people in our community actually don't even have the opportunity to study a creative degree. They probably started with law, or like some, other industry, and are only finally having the chance to realize that, oh, I actually want to take fine art seriously. And I feel like where I had the opportunity, and my parents really backed me to study illustration, and I thought it would be a breeze, because it's not a pain when you're doing something you're passionate about. But I got to my final year and I had a mental breakdown, and creative block really takes over. You may think that you can overcome it, but I had struggled with creative block like for almost 3 years, and that's so strange to me, because I can still draw, but the ideas are not coming and things like that. So I feel like it's really important to build a community where people can combat these things and be vulnerable and have a space, safe space to express that.
There's this
Mm,
resurface of kind of this community center thing. So there's Black Girls this, Tech that. Like there's always trying to build a community of something to kind of bring this
mm,
community centered aspect back. And I think I don't know if it's like we had this conversation before with another one of my friends. It's probably like post COVID-19. There's this need for community wise again, and so I guess my question is, why did you feel like it was important to have a community? Because I'm part of your WhatsApp community, and I can see you have loads of events. So your society is not just like
mm,
here, give us your story and we'll put it in a platform to highlight it. It's very much like you're also part of
mm,
a community, which I think is intentional. So my question is how
mm.
why is it important to build a community, but also how are you doing this? Like how are you intentionally trying to build a community?
I feel like these are even important to discuss because also the word community is now being an overused word. People are questioning, people are even using their rights. Whereas um the intentions behind building this community that brings people together, um it's more about the authentic feeling of it all, not networking. I've never really I'm such an introvert extrovert. I'm literally shaking because of social anxiety. I don't want to have the I myself don't understand the idea of going to an event to network, having to write your name on that thing and then and then look for icebreaker questions. While they work sometimes, I feel like it's so doctored, it's so it makes you feel like a tick box activity, and then you go home and you're like, and you don't it's not it's a memory, but it's not it should it's not a key moment. And I feel like every event or creative gathering should be a key moment because you've met people that you can actually go back to and be like, oh my god, I remember you do this, I would love to learn more about this and see how I can get involved. Or, oh my gosh, I love this film, like you said. Do you want to go catch a film as well? I feel like that's my intentions with the community because not to brag or not be humble, but our events have really gathered really unique people, and that's what we were going for. We've gathered really interesting people with interesting backgrounds. We've gathered people that are not just like from different parts of Africa and the diaspora, and even coming all over from the UK actually, and it shocks us many times. But what we've noticed is that people always leave our events saying, "I met this person at your first event, and we're coming to your second event together," and they build on that, and they build on their similarities, they build on their creative practice, and they've sort of I feel like it's very interesting. It seems like they've built that inner accountability to keep going forward with their creative practice and learning more about our community, but also like the kind of people that attend and the kind of people that you can meet so you can continue your hobbies or finding out more about other crafts and arts and films and things like that. So the intention behind it is just making sure people leave with friends, leave with something, leave with a new learning, leave with a new sense of belonging, and not feeling alone in what they're doing because so many people, so many guests or attendees or followers, there's always someone being like, "Ah, I didn't know this was happening," or like, I didn't know there are other people that felt this way about this. Like, I just love hearing things like that because then it makes you think, oh, this is actually working for people. And it's actually not a new, I feel like, I don't want to say it's a new way of bonding, but it's a very special way of bonding. And then also it's so natural as well. I don't know if you noticed at the flower events. I think you came a little bit later, but me and my teammates, we didn't have to do much. Like people just sat down. And I think also because of how close knit the workshops are, people just sat down and started talking to each other. And I think the foundation of that is also because of the people I work with, my friends, Tony, Olisa. We've worked with volunteers like Afoma and Imani, and like this is such a special team. I started this by myself, and I think what I'm about to say is a testament of your to answer your question. But I started this on my own, and I'm very much. When I was leaving, graduating, I was very much siloed. I didn't know the creative environment in London was vast. And I had to force myself to find out. And I started Afroniche by myself. I would go to galleries by myself. There were not a lot of people I could call and be like, "Do you want to go to a gallery and I'm gonna catch content? Would you come along with me or something?" Like I had to go out and find out. I had to talk to gallery owners. I had to talk to artists, interview them, and it took me a minute. And I just kept doing what I was doing, and that just pulled in so many amazing people like Olisa. He was the first one to reach out and be like, he really likes what I'm doing. And he was essentially only reaching out because he was doing a project at the Black Cultural Archives. I thought he was reaching out because he wanted to be part of the team. And it just evolved from both of us were like, oh wow, this like came out of nowhere, like evolved. And that alone is a motivation. So if you're coming to our events thinking that you're doing things alone or thinking that you don't know where to start, you're going to find someone to motivate you, and you're going to feel that sense of, oh, I actually I'm doing the right thing. This brought me here. This brought me to this event. This brought me to the Afroniche communities group chat, and I found someone to do this with. And then it just went on from Olisa to Tony. Now it's motivated us to do a lot more. We're doing our writing is, without Tony, our writing publication wouldn't be where it's at. So yeah, just keep what you're doing. Don't The community is never to make you feel siloed or make you feel like you have to answer for things or by yourself.
It's really good. And honestly, just to add on to what you mentioned about the flower event, I came by myself and then
Mm.
I sat next to a sister. She's Asian, and at first I was like, "Oh, she's so kind."
Oh,
And I was like, "It's so nice of her to come, I guess." And then turns out she was at the wrong event. I think it was supposed to be like next door, but what she found out and she didn't go.
yes.
She was like, "This place is so cute. Like, this is so much better." So yeah, her friend invited her somewhere else. She didn't end up going, but we her so cute. Like, we walked home together. We got the bus together, carrying our flowers. We exchanged numbers. Like, I see her status every now and then. Like, sometimes we'll just message each other, like, "Hello, how are you?" and stuff.
The story of that is so cool. It's so interesting
Right?
because like I I was so touched because I blindly like let her in. I was like, okay, all these ladies are coming. I don't like if she says she's on the list, she's on the list, you know. I even like blindly scrolled through the phone. I was like, okay, she must be a plus one or
Yeah.
something. And she was there. And in our event, we put a disclaimer that it's not just for Black and African women. If you want to join, you can. And that's what I thought she probably did that for. So when she came, and then she came to up to me and she was like, she wasn't supposed to be here and she felt bad. I was like, oh my gosh, no, don't feel bad. And it was so touching because after the event, she messaged our account and was like, she feels like this was divine intervention because she needed something that needed to lift up her spirits and things like that. Like she was having a rough time, and this really like, meeting you and doing the flower workshop, it was meant to be. And I've had similar people's like the same tone of that. I've had similar things said about our events, and now I start to think of it, I feel like it's just a thread. Like people are so connected for a thread, and it stays with them, and I just love it. It's so insane.
To what you were saying about like community building. But yeah, yeah, people do just connect. It's really nicely curated.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I guess this kind of goes on to your experience so far building the society. And I guess, it's amazing, but there's always going to be some challenges, some successes, and some things that you're, trying to work through, etc. Like, can you talk us through a little bit of, like, I guess, some of the challenges that you had to go through, especially as you're working full time, but you're also doing this and you also have a team. So what are some things, some challenges that you've, come across, and how have you worked through them?
Hmm. This is a tricky one because building something like this is such a learn as you go thing. I didn't have any mentors. I didn't, even though I was, applying, finding any little information I had, if I had to speak to someone, it'd be like on one-off basis. So honestly, it's such a learn as you go thing, and you make mistakes, but those mistakes are so valuable because you most likely not repeat them again. But in terms of challenges, I think the very obvious one is, I'll start with the obvious one than like personal ones, but like funding. Funding is such a roadblock for small community businesses like ours. Like if I didn't have this 9 to 5 job, it would be such a different story. And I think the way things happened, oh thank God, I always say alhamdulillah, but man, like I was so in my not river journey, but I was so in touch with becoming closer to God, writing my prayers down, doing my test bill and everything, like, and the way things happen, I don't think it happens for a lot of people, so I have to be very grateful. Like my 9 to 5 job came around the time where Afroniche was about to have its first day of events. So I was able to at least put some money from there into Afroniche and start small, get things. But it's also like it's such a constraint because I have to start applying for grants and not beg, not to be a beg, but like make sure people actually give us a chance and give us grants of money. And it's so hard taking on those rejections, but rejection is not the end of the world. um Delay is not denial. I feel like life is such a process. So um I think that was a challenge, just funding things. It does really it does really stalls things, but it's not the end of the world because I think um I've just gotten to know some really really good people, so I'll probably come to that later. I think another challenge is also putting yourself out there. um I myself, I'm very I can be a reserved person, and in this industry you can't be reserved. You have to go out there, you have to meet people so you can gather experience, you can gather insights on what's going on in the CIC world or in the charity world or in the community platform world. You really, really have to put yourself out there, or else you're just going to silo yourself. And the challenge there is that just learning to break the cycle of not putting myself out there. I really had to work through a lot of like people person skills, like communication skills and things like that. And I don't know if that's a challenge, but that's just, or a weakness, but that's just something I've had to, like an obstacle I have to come over, to overcome. And I think because of the lovely team I have, it really helps to practice with them, to even learn from them. Like Olisa he's the most people person ever. Like if he can make friends with like a tree, like he can literally just. And I also think because we're kind of new. I founded Afroniche in 2023, so we're roughly 3 years old, or almost three. I think is the challenges are still yet to come. I've been moving with a lot of grace, and I can't shy away from that. And I'm ready for them because I like a good challenge and overcoming them. But I'm definitely ready to see like what kind of not the crazy things that might like scandals or whatever, but what can really push us to you know be at the higher level and things like that. Yeah, and also down to professionalism. Like there's also the challenge of making sure that your emails come across well. Like there's a front facing and perspective you really want to keep up. And I think this goes for everyone. It's so when you're starting out, you don't know what kind of like you really want to keep a look and make sure that you're addressing people properly. Make sure that you're coming off like you want to be taken seriously. But there's also that thing that you shouldn't really look for people's validation. You should start with yourself. Start with your gut. Start with what you want to see. Start with what you would do differently from others, and just there's I think those are the challenges I've faced.
I agree, all of them, like the funding, but specifically like the validation as well as a kind of, I guess, a startup myself. It's so interesting because sometimes you don't even realize you're doing it. Like you would ask for advice, or you would even apply for
Mm,
funding before doing the thing yourself. But like you have to go
mm,
the extra mile for yourself first. But I would do this like, I guess, subconsciously, where I would apply for things. I would seek for advice before like fully implementing it. But like I already know what I want to do in my mind, but I wouldn't just go all the way because I feel like, oh, let me just get funding, or let me get advice first, let me do this and that and all of this, and then you still like build something solid for yourself, so then people can look back and be like, yeah, this is what I've done, and it can be like credentials. But yeah, and I agree with
mm.
all of the, I guess, the challenges. The funding is always, I guess, a challenge. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. But did you say you're a revert?
Well, I am Muslim, so like I wasn't very serious about my prayers. So at the time where Afroniche was like becoming, we were about to have our first year event. I was going through a lot of stuff, and Allah really like I feel like He even spoke to me. So like like for context, let's see, straight out of graduating 2023. So obviously that's when I started Afroniche, and then I came back to live with my aunt, and I started doing a waitress job, and I would come home, and it was in London, mind you. I live in like Essex, East London. So I'd be going early in the morning, coming back around 10, 11. I'll walk home from the station. And it became a problem for a lot of my family members, especially my mom. She came to visit, and mentally I was basically depressed. Yeah. So I was still doing the waitress job, and then family members, how they do intervention, they'll talk to you that you need to find a sponsored work. When last did you apply for things like that? You have to quit. You have to put your notice. So my mom essentially forced me to like, you have to put in your notice next week. So I did that, and I was jobless. And then I just had to like come down to like all my personal trauma, and like I had to really sit with myself. I was in the dark in my room. So what I did was I looked for online therapy, and it was from this Islamic foundation, and it was free. And I applied to that like before I quit my job. And the way God's times work is so crazy. So immediately I put in my notice and quit my job. I was depressed in my room. I didn't want to talk to anyone. I was alone at home. The foundation accepted me. I went through sessions. It went very, very well. And I started to pray again. And I'm not a very, I'm not used to doing my salat and things like that. So I started off lightly, like writing my prayers before I go to bed, and I did that religiously, and I did my tasbih religiously, and then I feel like God spoke to me. I applied to a charity job actually to be a creative manager and graphic designer, and I was so this is where it gets serious, because when I was applying, and obviously I'm in depressed mode, I don't take applying seriously. So When I applied for that charity job and they said, oh, they liked it and they have a task for me, I wanted to abandon that task because of how depressed I was. I wasn't going to do the graphic design task. I was going to just leave it. And they replied and they're like, are you still doing this and that? And then I fell asleep on my laptop and looking at the job task thing. I fell asleep on my laptop and then I had a dream. And I feel like he was speaking to me and was like, take the job, you enjoy it, you have fun, you enjoy it. Like he was serenading me or something. I woke up, I did it that night, submitted, and I got the job. So yeah, and all the interview processes, they loved me, and they especially loved me because of Afroniche. I designed the websites and everything, and the CEO was like, she loved the website. They need young people who are building things like this. And I was like, if I didn't have the Afroniche, like I don't think they would have, wanted to even explore me that much or be interested in what I'm doing. So yeah, from then on things just started going up. I kept writing, I kept praying and stuff, and then what even got crazier with the funding part, like what I was saying, my 9 to 5 was funding. Timing again. So the charity was going through a restructure. They made people redundant except for me, but I still had to apply for a work visa. So it was my time in the UK was running short, but I finally found the job. And around the time the charity was doing the redundancy and everything, I put in my notice and said I found a new job. And imagine, I was just so lucky and grateful because the fact that I got the job around the time the charity was going to make people redundant was insane. So I would have had nothing if I didn't get that job. So I got the job and then I could now invest in Afronish, do events. So I think things really worked out the moment I started, praying to Allah and writing my prayers and stuff like that. So yeah, it's a crazy journey, and that's why I say I feel like I'm lucky. I've not really experienced those challenges yet because of divine intervention, I guess. But yeah, I think that's it.
Amazing. Sorry, that was super super. To be me being nosy, but I was like, I love this. I didn't know.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah,
Mm.
that's lovely. Yeah, let's let's get back to the questions. Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about your successes. I guess we already kind of
Mm.
spoke about that a little bit on like community building and how people just come and just love your events and go away
Mm.
with friends. But do you have any other successes that you kind of wanted to raise that you've done this and you, alhamdulillah, were able
Mm.
to accomplish X, Y, and Z?
Yeah, like I said before, I think it's the big success is the people I've met along the way. I've met community. I'm even friends with their like community founders, people who have gone through or are going through what I'm going through. So setting up a CIC, setting up a community business. Like I have so much knowledge around me now. It's so strange because if myself like 3, 4, 5 years ago, I would be so shocked because I'm such a reserved person, like I've said. I wouldn't know how I'd have made such connections, but um the success is really like the people who have really supported me. Like there's some people who I've probably only talked to once and they'll just start sending me, oh, I found this opportunity for Afrenish, you should apply, or like things like that. Or they just say, oh, I love what you're doing, I love to talk to you. And I don't know, it's just amazing because I now have like people I can go to and be like, oh, what do you think about this? Or where do you think I can get this? And it's such a blessing. Like I don't think a lot of people that's understand how amazing it is to have people around you. And I also think that's what I really want for our events or anything that we do. People are living with people around them. So, and my success as well as my team. I don't know if I'm meant to mention like the successes that the platform has had. It's had a lot. I think we've had subscribers, we've had attend people come to our events. That alone is amazing. We've been at Canva, we've been at Us Too, we've done film screen at what do you call that place? Soho House, White City. We've worked with Rich Mix and we have a partnership with Rich Mix. So we formed really, really cool relationships and partnerships and been in really, really cool places. And yeah, I think it's really changed me into like the way I look into things. Like, don't think anything is not possible. Like, anything is possible. You just need to like type it into Google and or LinkedIn or something, and it'll pop up. But yeah, I think those are what I call successes. I'll be honest.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's amazing. Always like don't ask permission to brag about your accomplishments. Like that's amazing. Like we need to be able to just speak confidently about the things that you're able to accomplish through your hard work and the team's hard work. Um, yeah,
Mm.
that's amazing. Honestly, really, really, really good. I think one of my last questions probably would be kind of I always want to bring it back to the continent, but also wider questions of Africa in general. And so I wanted to
Mm.
ask you, we talked about community building, we've spoken about society and kind of centered around an interest. And my question is, what can
Mm.
we learn from your experience in community building that can be applied to the African continent
Oh,
or specifically Nigeria?
this is yeah. I love this question because what's so funny? Because I think earlier what I said is what we do well is collaboration,
Mm,
but community gatherings are so different from here.
mm,
And I'll use my country as an example because I'm not sure about the others. In Lagos, Nigeria is different. I think it's getting there. I've seen like there are a lot of new organizations popping up like 16 by 16 and there's this place called Kensho and Miliki, but I think there are so many barriers that are making that are not allowing probably even younger people in Lagos experiment more with what community means and how to bring people together. Whereas here, you can just see something, go to it, you know what you're expecting, you're possibly going to, there are niche things that you can find out here, and there's more informed gatherings. Whereas, like for example, I think I went back home in Easter, and there are events people just go to for the sake of it or the hype behind it, and then you're there and you're just sitting down doing nothing or waiting for someone to make the first move, like yeah, or like you're not really seeing your people because this is another controversial thing, but like there's classism involved. Like I don't know, there's a lot of like people feel like they can't be in the same space as some other people. I don't know, there's just an access thing. I think that is always tied to community gatherings in maybe in Lagos maybe. I think what people can take from what we're doing is just come you're just come as you are, to be honest. I think people need to be more open-minded. There are people but it's definitely changing. I know there's like the illustration bazaar that did like a festival just for illustrators. Like um there just needs to be more involvement in uplifting these initiatives so people can feel like, oh, I have a community. I feel like people just go to things and they're not sure whether they can rely on people or like with their creative practice. They're not sure what they're getting out of it basically. So in terms of what they can get from what we're doing, just the intention behind it could be better. I don't know. In terms of practice, I can't really compare because there's so much resources here, like access and things like that. Like um I don't know. People just need to be more open minded. It's a tricky question, but I think they just need to be more open minded in coming to things.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. I think I will just do a quick short plug here and I will talk about the Sòrò Sókè Thinktank, which is kind of an application, an
Mm.
extension of this podcast, which tries to have this different epistemic knowledge and we can write and talk about different topics. And I think a lot of the things that you mentioned about just creative understanding and creative things that they're writing about. And the think tank is kind of a platform where humans can exchange ideas, write on it, collaborate. So do check out the link on the platform, but also again follow the Afroniche Society. So yeah, last questions though before we close today's amazing episode is I always trying to end every podcast episode with a action point, a thing that you want the listener to do, or yourself that you're going to do, or for myself something that you want us to do.
Oh, what do I have? Mm, give yourself a break. Go out, take a walk, breathe in fresh air. Nature is art on its own, so take it all in, especially if you're going through creative block. You really need to go out there, take a break, don't do anything because your well-being is very important as a creative person. So also think, just start. If you have an idea, always write it down, always open your notes app. I have so many notes and they're endless, so if you have an idea, just put it down, don't leave it until later. And yeah, and just start however you feel like, because the thing about human beings, we evolve, we experiment and evolve, and so don't take whatever you're doing now as lame or mid or whatever. Just start. And yeah, I think that's, and if you need anything, please DM the Afroniche Society if you have any collaborative ideas you want to work on, or if you need pointers on people, or like pointers on where to go to for this and that, just message us. We might have something for you in the books. And yeah, and we're doing a YouTube series where we interviewed people like you and founders, creative entrepreneurs and artists like photographers and stuff. And we'll be releasing that hopefully by soon. I can't promise a date, but it'll be an ongoing YouTube series where you can also learn about other people's journeys. We interviewed Natalie from Newcomer and stuff. So that'll be great. So look out for that. But honestly, thank you, Zainab. I know we're going over time, but thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you so much for agreeing and coming on here. Your journey has been super inspiring and super motivational. Like every time I speak to any guest, I always learn so much from them, and you were definitely one of them. So really, really appreciate your presence. But until then, Sarah's okay. Say it.
Okay. I love it.
Okay. Thank you.